Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harry Spikes. I'm the chairman for the Commission for Historic and Architectural Preservation. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Before we begin, I would like for all CHAP staff and commissioners to introduce themselves.
Lauren Shizik, Executive Director.
Councilman Jermaine Jones.
Peter Morrill, Commissioner.
Ann Powell, Commissioner representing Greater Baltimore Committee.
Kapow Land Commissioner.
Councilman John Bullock, as for today, former commissioner, but happy to be seeing some Union Square Historic District items on the agenda today.
Catherine Good, Commissioner.
Sarah Langmead, Commissioner.
Gary Rodwell, Commissioner, representing the Coppin Heights Community Development Corporation as CEO and the Preservation Community through Baltimore Heritage.
Sure. And Tamara Woods, Commissioner, representing the Department of Housing and Community Development.
CHAP staff.
Tyreek Charlouche, CHAP staff.
Rachel Donaldson, CHAP staff.
Anthony Stewart, CHAP staff. Eddie Leon, CHAP staff.
Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 1:22 p.m. on March 10th, 2026. The CHAP mission is to enhance and promote the culture and economy of Baltimore through the preservation of buildings, structures, sites, and neighborhoods that have aesthetic, historic, and architectural value. CHAP's goals include preserving historic architecture and monuments, reclaiming broken neighborhoods, preventing demolition by neglect, and integrating our city's past into its future. Before we move forward, I want to share with you all just a couple housekeeping rules. You do not have to turn your phone off. You can put your phone on BlackBerry. But if you have to take a call, we ask that you take the call outside. Also, you all can hear the mics. If you have to take a conversation amongst yourselves, take it outside in the room. We rarely have this, but if you hear of any public comment or the commissioners dialoguing, you are prohibited from talking over this way to us. You have to be called upon and asked to come to the podium and be recognized. Finally, for those of you who have signed up for public testimony, thank you. For those of you who have not but do want to public testify, please feel free to reach one of our staff and let us know. And it goes a little bit like this. We normally give people 3 minutes to speak. Harry Spikes will put the gavel up at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. That means you have 30 seconds left. Normally, I do not knock on the gavel to tell somebody to stop. However, it has happened. So when you see this lift up, you have 30 seconds left. Now, do not get confused. When we have the applicants that come up, the applicants tend to speak longer, but those that testify only have 3 minutes. So that's the cadence. And thank you for attending. I would like to make a motion to waive the readings of the minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Are there corrections or additions to the minutes that need to be made? Seeing none, I would like to make a motion to adopt the minutes. Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Due process and review procedures. CHAP reviews applications in conjunction with the building permit process of the permit section of the Department of Housing and Community Development. If a building permit application is filed prior to historic design review, the application is placed on hold. Pending completion of the CHAP review process, the review process is completed by issuing an authorization to proceed. The historic design review process is in addition to other applicable laws and regulations and does not diminish the force of urban renewal, plans, building codes, zoning codes, etc. It is the applicant's responsibility to comply with all applicable laws, regulations, and codes. Proposed projects are reviewed prior to issuing a building permit. Applicants must comply with the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines in planning and executing their projects. Design review considers the proposed work, taking into consideration the historical and architectural character of the structure and of the immediate area. Applicants will need to clearly explain how their project complies with the design guidelines. Minor projects. In order to expedite the application process, the Commission has delegated review authority to the Executive Director for cases involving minor work. Minor work projects must not significantly change the overall appearance or remove the significant undamaged historic fabric. All minor work must clearly meet the design guidelines. Major projects. Many projects may change the overall character, appearance, and integrity of the structure. Substantial building alterations, demolitions, additions, and new constructions are considered major projects and are reviewed at a public hearing. Interested parties should request a pre-development meeting in the planning department to begin the review process. An electronic version of all materials must be submitted to the CHAP staff at least 25 calendar days prior to the public hearing date. If the application is complete, the project shall be scheduled for a public hearing. CHAP hearings. At the public hearing, CHAP staff presents recommendations to the commission regarding the project. Following the staff presentation, the applicant may have a presentation to the commission. Interested parties, including neighborhood associations, have the opportunity to provide public testimony. Following testimony, the commission renders a decision on the application at the public hearing. Persons aggrieved by the decision of the commission may seek judicial and appellate review in accordance with the Baltimore City Code. After an authorization to proceed is issued, the applicant may obtain a building permit. The commission's process is impartial, and staff comments are evidence that assist the commissions in rendering decisions. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the final agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Let us begin. Commissioners, before we begin, Tyreek, can you share with us the cadence for the online presence?
Yes. So after each commission hearing item, we will hear in-person public testimony first, but those online will also have an opportunity to testify. You can write your testimony directly within the chat and we will read it out, or you can speak directly to the commission. To speak directly to the commission, we will first ask you to unmute yourself. At that moment, you will have to unmute on your end and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Tyreek, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. First on our agenda, 2401 Bel Air Road, Laurel Cemetery. The request, certified local government, review of National Register nomination. The application is Maryland Historical Trust, and our staff is Ms. Rachel Donaldson.
And one thing I'm going to ask before we get started, we do not have page numbers on our presentations. I think we might fix that for next time. We haven't anticipated needing those, but if, as you're going through your presentation, if you got to certain key pages, if you could just say, now I'm at the analysis page, that would be really great. And that goes for all staff, just so that we can all follow along. Commissioners, if you get lost, please feel free to speak up, given that we are not working with the technology that we usually have. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. So I'm on that slide that first gives the overview, showing that, again, we are reviewing this potential listing on the National Register of Historic Places because we are a certified local government. Now I'm going to move into the background. So if you could scroll to the slide with maps. The CLG review is of the proposed designation of Laurel Cemetery on the National Register of Historic Places. The cemetery is being nominated under Criterion A, as it was the first non-denominational cemetery for African Americans in the city, and hosted tens of thousands of burials between 1852 and 1958. It included several significant Black leaders. It is also being nominated under Criterion D for its archaeological potential due to its ability to shed light on historic burial practices. And you can see in the visuals locations of the cemetery today, as well as a picture of its current and former size. Moving to the next one. Consecrated in 1851 and opening in 1852 in what was then a rural section of Baltimore County, much like St. Peter's Cemetery that we had on our last commission hearing, Laurel Cemetery was the first non-denominational burial site for both free and enslaved Black residents in the city. With a heyday lasting through the 1920s, Laurel Cemetery hosted burials of major civil rights, labor, and religious leaders. Among the several notable persons buried there was Isaac Myers, the founder of the Colored Cockers Trade Union Society and co-founder and president of the Colored National Labor Union, which was a segregated division of the National Labor Union, the first significant umbrella union in the country. The cemetery also hosted thousands of working class and middle class burials of residents, including 240 Civil War veterans of the United States Colored Troops, making it one of the most significant defunct Black cemeteries in the country. I'm going to be moving to the next slide. Again, you'll see images of both contemporary and historic maps. During the early 20th century, Laurel Cemetery began to face threats stemming from increasing urbanization, including the widening of Bel Air Road in 1911, as well as a portion of the cemetery land being sold to a constructed gas station in 1930. The latter action galvanized community opposition, leading to the creation of a lot owner association. The cemetery also struggled with maintenance issues, and it became something noted as in the Afro in 1929 as somewhat of a dumping ground for the homes constructed along Elmley Avenue to its south. And in the historic aerial image, you'll see the newly constructed homes depicted in 1926. Now, in 1952, John G. Kaufman, a real estate agent who had become the sole owner and operator of the cemetery, declared voluntary bankruptcy. Although another lot owners association that had recently formed in order to protect and care for the cemetery had tried to purchase both the company and the land, their efforts were rebuffed, presumably by Kaufman. In 1956, Kaufman became an unnamed shareholder of McCamer Realty Company, which formed, according to the nomination, for the, quote, express purpose of buying Laurel Cemetery, unquote. The following year, the firm filed a bill of complaint that the cemetery was 75% abandoned. And this is because the state legislature had recently passed a bill that that permitted the closure and sale of a cemetery, providing that 75% of the land was proven to be abandoned. After testimony containing lies of omission, ignorance, and or potential lying under oath, along with inadequate notice given to the interested parties, the court found in favor of McCamer. The cemetery, which in fact had continued to host burials up until 1957, was then sold to McCamer Realty for a total sum of $100. The firm then promptly sold the land to Bel Air Road Enterprises, the three stockholders of which were the owners of McCamer Realty. So a lot of backstory there. So we are then moving to the recommendation. CHAP staff notified several community groups of the impending designation of Laurel Cemetery, including the Bel Air Edison Community Association, Bel Air Edison Neighborhoods Incorporated, Baltimore Heritage, Baltimore National Heritage Area, Preservation Maryland, and Baltimore City Historical Society. We have received 5 letters of support for this designation from Senator Cory McCray, Senator Emerita Jill P. Carter, Ms. Chezia Cager, Mr. Glenn Dellin, and Mr. John Muller. Now we're moving to the recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the nomination because it meets both criteria A and D of the National Register of Historic Places. Thank you.
Rachel, thank you. Any questions for Rachel? Okay, seeing none. MHT, do we have the applicant anyone from MHT here? Okay. Let me do this. We have 4 individuals that would like to testify. Forgive me if I do not pronounce your name right, but when you come to the mic, give us your full name for the record. The first name that I have is, and I'll just spell it E-L-G-I-N, Elgin Clay? Clue. Yeah, come on up, Mr. Clue. Yep. And for the record, give us your first name, your full name.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
For the record, my name is Elgin Clue. I appear to you today in my capacity as president of the Laurel Cemetery Memorial Project in support of the nomination. My background and training is in cultural anthropology and I also serve as a professor and chairperson in the Department of Applied Social and Political Sciences at Coppin State University. Stemming from an initial inquiry to determine if burials remain at the Bel Air Road location, the Laurel Cemetery Memorial Project has bloomed into a dynamic, community-engaged research, education, and memorialization initiative. Our primary goals are to research and teach about the Laurel Cemetery burial population and to erect a permanent memorial in their honor at the Bel Air Road site. In collaboration with members of the Baltimore Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society, we have identified over 29,500 Baltimore death certificates for individuals buried at Laurel Cemetery. Although the cemetery was officially moved to a new site in Carroll County, less than 700 burials were claimed to have been moved. Evidence indicates that mostly headstones and very few actual burials were moved. Through archaeological excavation and ground-penetrating radar completed by both our project members and the Maryland Historical Trust, we have confirmed that many burials remain at the site. Thus, it is important to acknowledge this landscape not just for its history and significance for Baltimore's 19th century and early 20th century African American community, but for the very real fact that it is sacred ground holding the burials of thousands. These are the burials of military veterans, clergy, medical professionals, civil rights activists, writers, entertainers, ship caulkers, businessmen and women, teachers, Freemasons, and common laborers and washerwomen. Among the burials are those of individuals such as Reverend Harvey Johnson and his wife Amelia Hall Johnson. Reverend Johnson pastored the Union Baptist Church and set up a school to train clergy who went on to found several other Baltimore churches. He also initiated the creation of the Mutual United Brotherhood of Liberty, a late 19th century civil rights organization, and was a part of the Niagara movement to form the NAACP. His wife supported all of these activities and was an accomplished writer of novels and children's literature. Another burial is that of Daniel Alexander Payne. He was a bishop in the African Methodist Episcopal Church and a founder of Wilberforce University, where he served as president, being the first African American to serve as a president of a university in the United States. The lifetime accomplishments of the Laurel Cemetery burial population are vast and numerous. The Laurel Cemetery Memorial Project continues to research and teach about the burial population, striving to create genealogical resources for the present descendant community, which undoubtedly numbers in the hundreds of thousands. We feel we have made a strong case in our National Register nomination, and we respectfully request that the Commission advance this designation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Next on our list, yes, Commissioner Ugay.
Yeah, Dr. Kluge, you, in your humble nature, really kind of do not tell the story of what an inspiration you've been to this project. I remember over a decade ago sitting in your office as a vice president at Coppin and you as department chair. It was then that you began talking about the historical importance of this project. And I really commend you for your determination, your keen ability to involve so many other people in the community, because what was a thought that you had has now become a passion for so many other people. I really appreciate your raising up the specter of our historical figures. I grew up in Harvey Johnson's church, and indeed the reason why I am here is because of the commitment that we all learned coming out of Union Baptist Church. And so I really appreciate your stick-to-itness, and want to say that the National Historic Registry designation is a very important first step. As we were talking in the office about the Hebrew Orphan Asylum, you know very well that us getting the partnership with Baltimore Heritage and having the HOA become a national historic monument, registered gave us the opportunity to begin to build the resources that has allowed it to become what it is today. And so I wish you luck. You're continuing to move in the right direction.
Thank you very much for your support and encouragement. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Same here.
Commissioner Gurry, thank you. Next on our list is Aiken. I do not know how to pronounce the last name.
Thank you.
But please forgive me. But when you come up, give us your full name.
Akin Omisami, pastor of Southwest Baptist Church. Assume it's that half of the stained glass project. Do we
You know
wanna
what?
Bring that now, or?
I made a mistake.
Okay.
Please forgive me. But I know how to pronounce your name now, so we're good. I will ask that Molly Ricks come up.
Hello, my name is Molly Ricks, and I'm Deputy Director at Baltimore Heritage. And I am here to recommend the approval of the Laurel Cemetery nomination to the National Register of Historic Places. I'm also on the Laurel Cemetery Memorial Project Task Force, and I also helped write this nomination. I'm particularly impressed with the cemetery for many reasons. It was used by families across spectrums of social class, occupation, education, and religion. Here, the lives of washerwomen and laborers were commemorated alongside Civil War heroes and some of the most active and influential agents of African American progress. In 1894, Frederick Douglass traveled to Laurel Cemetery to speak at the unveiling of the monument honoring Bishop Daniel Alexander Payne, who we just heard about. And other leading Maryland civil rights leaders, such as Reverend Harvey Johnson and Reverend Alexander Walker Wayman, were also buried here. It is estimated that this burial ground was the resting place of 37,000 to 42,000 people. Yet, today it is the Bel Air Edison Shopping Center. And most Baltimoreans have not known the site's significance, the identities of those buried here, or even their own family connections to this space. This nomination is vital to the preservation and education of a key site in Baltimore's and Maryland's history. We believe the more the public knows and loves this sacred space, the more advocates we will have for its protection. Also, a nomination to the NRHP would ensure that Section 106 proceedings would take place prior to future government interference near the site, which is directly along a major road and a public sidewalk. In conclusion, to add Laurel Cemetery to the National Register of Historic Places would be a significant step in correcting the physical erasure of the site, while also helping Marylanders further understand the rich Black history of their state. We believe that Laurel Cemetery is just as significant as other Baltimore cemeteries that are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. To finally add it to the register would instill a sense of local pride in the site, increase learning opportunities, and give those interred there the respect they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next on our list, we have Matthew Bradford.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this matter. I am Matthew Bradford, Chief of Staff for the Baltimore City Law Department. My testimony on the department's behalf does not constitute legal advice. However, the Law Department wanted to share today its unique history with Laurel Cemetery and its support for the Laurel Cemetery project. Starting sometime before the United States Civil War, Laurel Cemetery served as a resting place for Black Baltimoreans of all backgrounds, including educators, laborers, veterans, and church leaders. However, in 1957, 2 employees of the city solicitor's office used their positions for personal gain. Their actions helped strip the community of a 15-acre cemetery and erase for decades a sacred part of Baltimore's Black heritage. These were abuses of power, they were betrayals of public trust, and they inflicted real and lasting harm. The Law Department has acknowledged and condemned those harms. We cannot erase that shameful history, but thanks to the work of the Laurel Cemetery Project and the community, the memory and legacy of those buried at Laurel Cemetery will not be forgotten. We stand with the Laurel Cemetery Memorial Project and with Baltimore's African American community in ensuring that history is safeguarded in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no public testimony for Laurel Cemetery, I will now turn it over to our commissioners. We got one online? Oh, thank you. We do? Great.
Yes. Now it's time for online testimony. So when I call on you to unmute, please do so. We are going to start off with Dr. Jacqueline Anderson. I have requested for you to unmute. Oh, she has been unmuted.
We can't hear her.
We cannot hear her. One moment, we cannot hear you. Oh, it's muted. That makes sense. Hello? I see it. It's very...
Please bear with us for one moment. Oh, they can hear their online. So here's what I'm gonna do. Okay. I'm gonna call in. Look, we're just, Chuck is really doing great today.
Tacking is tacking.
Okay. Yeah, hold on one second and let me.
The weather's too nice for the technical, right? Too.
One moment, Ms. Anderson. We are troubleshooting the audio.
So for our online people who are waiting,
So sorry.
our director is going to call in to give everyone the ability
Dr.
to
Anderson.
give comment. In the event that we have challenges, please feel free to put your comments in the chat.
Sarah. Is the drone flying? Are we gonna get the video? Particularly, Sarah. Yeah, I think photos of that. Yeah. Well, is there any fine conversation? Does anyone else want to talk?
Okay.
Hello?
Hold on one second. I am going to put up your audio. Okay. Can you please go ahead and speak? And I'm going to try to put you on mic in the room.
Okay, hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, we can. Okay, commissioners.
Okay,
we're
thank
getting
you.
started. Apologies.
Thank you so much.
Apologies for the tech issues. Thanks for bearing with
No,
us.
it's no problem. It's my pleasure to be here. Okay, tell me when I should begin.
Please go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. It is quite an honor to be part of such a distinguished group of people who have the concerns of the community that my grandfather was a part of way back before I was born. So I am Jacqueline Alexandra Minot Anderson. My grandmother was Ethel Lillian Campbell. My mother, Ignota Eloise Campbell, the daughter of Cecil and Ethel Campbell. Cecil Campbell was recruited and served under the British Colonial Regiment out of Jamaica, West Indies during World War I, along with the Allies. So I am here in support of having Laurel Cemetery be a part of the National Historic Register. So guess what? Dr. Kluge is amazing. Mr. Blackwell is amazing. Those gentlemen have been a beacon of light to our family. You know, our ancestors always remain with us, and we have never stopped searching for our grandfather. After listening to strong oral history passed down through generations, and about 60 years of wandering, searching, and wondering where our grandfather lie, and of course, considering that my grandmother had told us about Laurel Cemetery, we confirmed through some amazing work by Mr. Glenn Blackwell of BAAGHS, I know it's an abbreviation for a long genealogical society in Baltimore, that Cecil Campbell was indeed buried at Laurel Cemetery. He had arrived in the United States at the end of World War I. He was listed in the 1920 census in Baltimore. I had a chance to visit there recently. Mr. Blackwell used the information from our oral family stories to find our grandfather's death certificate in the city of Baltimore. We were stunned. This in turn confirmed that he had died at the fort, which is Fort McHenry. I, as a child, had heard the words Laurel Cemetery and the fort from my grandmother since I was 6 or 7 years old while sitting on her lap in Oragabessa, Jamaica. I am now 75 years old. My mother died calling out, I want my dad. He went to the war. He went to Baltimore. He paid down in the house. He went to the fort and he never came home. She was 95 and she was crying out for her dad because we had heard of Laurel Cemetery, but we had no confirmation. Contacts with Professor Kluge also brightened our path. And my cousin Marie Campbell Smalley, daughter of George Constantine Campbell, another son, was able to attend the commemoration and unveiling of a plaque in the shopping center Laurel Cemetery site on September 13, 2025. Her attendance and representation there was very significant for our family. We had never stopped searching for our grandfather's resting place. I strongly support this effort to have this important cemetery placed on the Register of Historic Places. And I will just like to say that the ships that scattered us from the triangular slave trade all across the Caribbean and the United States, again, has us as African American people coming back in this instance and meeting at Laurel Cemetery where our ancestors rest. So in honor of the pain and suffering of lost ones who we could not find, we just give thanks to the city of Baltimore, the Genealogical Society, and Dr. Kluge for helping us putting these links together and finding this place where our grandfather lied. And thanks to a neighbor who moved from Maryland, a lady named Karen Tracy, she knew the cemetery, and so everything came together for us as a family. Thank you so much, and I support this effort tremendously. Marie's also online listening.
Thank you so much. Terry, do we have anyone else on public testimony?
Yes. Give me one moment.
Okay.
We also received written testimony at this moment. 1 second. Okay. We have Isaac Shern. All right. I'm going to request that you unmute. Please, at this moment, please unmute your mic if you would like to speak.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'll be brief because other people have echoed a lot of what I want to say. I'm a colleague of Dr. Kluge and have also been working to research the cemetery and speaking in support. And and I'm not sure if it's the same procedure, but it's even my view that it deserves to be a Baltimore City landmark. And as we've been researching the cemetery and making comparisons to some of the other cemeteries that still exist and are still preserved, like Greenmount Cemetery, it really sort of highlights the inequality and the racial and political dynamics that were in play in the demolition of the cemetery. And I think it's only right that it receives the recognition that getting on the National Register and potentially being designated as a Baltimore City landmark would really do a lot to undo, or at least to redress some of those historical wrongs. And I also wanted to really thank the descendants for being here and the law department for taking their stance. They really deserve a lot of credit for doing that. And I guess I'll just wrap up there. So thank you very much, and definitely support this nomination.
Thank you. Appreciate you. We have one more that were online, and then we have one that gave written testimony.
We have a Carlos Alejandro. I'm going to request that you unmute yourself. Carlos Alejandro, there you go.
Hi, I am Carlos Alejandro. I'm the Executive Director of the CHAP Callaway Foundation. I see that Joshua Langsam, who is CHAP Callaway's grandson, has left a very detailed written testimony, so I will be short. I would like to thank Dr. Klug and Glenn Blackwell, Isaac Stern, Lauren Shizik, and people and organizations we have not yet been in touch with for all the persistence and honor that they have brought forward in this project. Our ancestors are speaking to our future here, and so we speak in favor of uplifting this as a National Historic Register designation, and I thank you.
Thank you. We have another one who'd like to speak. Thank you, Tyreek.
All right. We are going to ask that Marie Campbell Smelly please unmute herself.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excellent. First of all, this is a very historic and extremely emotional and passionate time in the history of many families who have their ancestors buried there at the Lawrence Cemetery. My cousin Jackie, Dr. Jackie Addison, has spoken quite passionately, and I must give her a lot of props for being persistent. She has been the historian. Her passion really just kept her driven. That's the only word I can use to describe her zeal and her quest in finding out exactly where our grandfather was buried. It has been something with us that we, just could not let go. And Dr. Klug and all of the other staff who were involved and members were involved in getting this to this point. I just want to give you all the props, all the thank yous. Our ancestors are smiling. They are so proud and happy at this moment. And it really is, there's so many cemeteries and so much history of African descendants. Here in New York, I'm in New York, there is the African burial ground in Manhattan, right near to the Wall Street. There's so many instances of Black lives that have just been trampled on, literally and figuratively. So I just really am very thankful that this has come to the point. And Dr. Klug, your passion and your zeal for this cannot be emphasized enough. Thank you very much. Thank you for what you're doing. When my cousin told me that there was going to be the hearing, it was like a 1 day's notice. And I drove from New York to Baltimore by myself. I just had to represent, the family at this momentous occasion. And I'm so glad. I met a lot of other people that were there. Their passion and the zeal for this is exemplary. So thank you for having brought this full circle for many people. And as the saying goes, truth pressed to the ground will rise. So thank you, everyone. And thank you so much, Dr. Anderson, Jackie, my cousin. Thank you so much. Our grandfather, our uncles and aunts, my father, everybody is really smiling at this moment. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And Tyreek, you said we have one written?
Yes.
By all means.
Yes. All right, this has come in from Josh. Good afternoon, CHAP. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is Joshua Cable Langsam, grandson of Cab Calloway. Oh, wow, that scroll does it. The Calloway family has no less than 8 ancestors resting at Laurel Cemetery, including his father, Cable Calloway II, his paternal grandmother, Elizabeth P. Calloway, great-grandfather, Bushrod Credit, great-grandmother, Annie Vessel Waring O'Neill, and several great-uncles and aunts. Laurel Cemetery is more than a burial ground. It is a sacred record of a community whose history has too often been overlooked. The men, women, and children laid to rest here lived through eras of enslavement, segregation, and the long struggle for dignity and opportunity in Baltimore. Their lives helped build this city, even when their stories were rarely written into its official history. Historic Black cemeteries are among the most vulnerable cultural landscapes in the United States. Many were created at a time when Black Americans were excluded from white burial grounds, making these spaces not only places of mourning, but places of autonomy, memory, and community identity. When they disappear, irreplaceable chapters of American history disappear with them. Recognizing this site as a national landmark would help ensure that the people buried here are remembered with the respect they were too often denied in life. It would acknowledge the cultural, historical, and social significance of this cemetery and affirm that the history of Black Baltimore is essential to the history of our nation. Preservation is not only about protecting land, it is about honoring lives, restoring memory, and telling a fuller American story. I urge you to support the landmark registration so that this sacred place and the stories it holds are protected for generations to come. Thank you.
Tariq, thank you. And thank you for our participants online. Commissioners, before we vote, is there any conversation you all would like to have before we deliberate and vote? Okay.
I'll just, really quickly, real short, this is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'm gonna say, this is good, this is good.
Awesome, awesome. I'll just say one thing. Dr. Clue, your name has been raised 7 times, I counted. 7 times. And not enough to Dr. Gary. Just want to publicly say a lot of historians do not get the credit they deserve for doing this work. And sometimes it takes years, not days, not weeks, years for it to come to fruition. So on behalf of the commission, we want to thank you for your hard work and dedication and all of the people who followed your lead in doing this. So thank you. With that said, you can keep me online if you want. 2401 Bel Air Road, Laurel Cemetery. The request, certified local government, review of National Register nomination, staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the nomination because it meets criteria A and D of the National Register of Historic Places. Do I have a motion to move the staff's recommendation?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And abstain? The ayes have it. Next on our list, we have 221 North Gay Street, Old Town National Bank, Baltimore City Landmark. The request: construct a 7-story and 4-story addition and exterior stairs, accessibility ramps, and flood vents. The applicant, is Aaron Zeifer, Mosley Designs, and our staff is Mr. Anthony Stewart.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon. Yes, so this is going to be 221 North Gay Street. This site is on the map site, or the map page for the, talking about the site description right now, which is designated in Baltimore City Landmark as Old Town National Bank building constructed in 1924 through 1925 and designated as a Frederick A. Fletcher in the Bow-style 7-story limestone-clad commercial building, a significant early 20th century financial institution building. The structure is a 3-part vertical block composition consisting of highly ornate 2-story base and comparatively restrained shaft, and an elaborate capital with decorative base relief panels projecting from the cornice. I'm on the aerial page. It's a corner building with primary elevations facing North Gay Street and Fallsway. These facades contain the building's defining architectural features, including rusticated limestone, Corinthian columns, and pilasters, base relief panels, ornate keystone belt course, and projecting cornice. The next slide from an aerial view just is the southeast elevation visible from Fallsway. And the next slide is just another picture of the building the building is also a contributing resource to the North Gay Street National Register Historic District and previously undergone adaptive reuse as a hotel receiving preservation award and for its sensitive rehabilitation. This property is also in a designated floodplain, and a major project is triggering both local and federal floodplain requirements. I'm on the background page in the next slide after that, and the building was designated, like I said, the building was designated Baltimore City Landmark in 2012 an architectural distinction for historical significance. The property has undergone prior CHAP review for rooftop communications antennas. The current proposal is a part of a larger redevelopment project known as Sojourner and at the Falls, which includes a construction of a 4-story residential building. The project as a whole will provide permanent supportive housing. The project has been through UDAP review. CHAP's jurisdiction for this project applies only to the designated landmark building and alterations directly affecting it. The adjacent new construction is being provided to the Commissioner for context about the project as a whole and how the proposed alterations to Old Town National Bank relate to the overall project. On the proposal page, the applicant is proposing to rehabilitate the designated landmark building and construct a 7-story addition connected via 4-story link. Work under CHAP's jurisdiction includes the mason repair, infill to the below-grade windows, installation of the flood vents, infill to existing door within the floodplain, accessible ramp, stairs, and railing modifications, construction of new stair and door on the secondary elevation addition, and mason repair, and infill below-grade windows. So the next slide, as you can see, is just another part of another image of the building of the existing. Oh, I went backwards. I'm sorry. My iPad is messing up. There we go. So the next is just the plan. And as you can see on the plan, out with the data by the red dash. That's the area that we're focused on, the National Bank, and then the area that's attached. So application of the guidelines. Staff applied the guidelines 1.21 masonry general, 1.9 porches, steps, and railings, decks, 1.13 mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, and 1.15 accessibility, 1.17 alterations and additions, 2.1 guiding principles of new design, 2.3 scale and form, 2.4 building features, 2.5 materials and detailing, as well as the floodplain mitigation design guidelines. So next slide is just the overall 1.2 masonry general with the guidelines that we applied. And the proposal is introducing flood vents, which is the next slide, showing the flood vents. The proposal introduces flood vents on the Northgate Street and Fallsway elevation, located below the window openings in the limestone facade. While these flood vents do require cutting an opening into the masonry walls, which does not comply with guidelines, they are required for life safety and are being installed in a manner that is discreet and possible and will cause minimal damage to the limestone. Next slide, 1.9 porches. The proposed concrete stair and accessibility ramp modifications are integrated into the entrance area without removal of ornamental limestone features, railings. The railings must remain simple and subordinate to the facade detail. The primary limestone entrance surrounding remains intact. This proposal meets the guidelines. Next slide, 1.15 accessibility. The accessibility ramp and stair modifications preserve the limestone, as mentioned in, like I mentioned in 1.9, this just to make sure that we are still applying all guidelines. 1.17 alterations and additions. So the 7-story addition is located on the secondary elevation and does not exceed the height of the landmark. The Northgate Street facade remains visually dominant. The addition employs a contemporary materials and detailing and does not replicate the limestone ornamentation. This proposal meets 1.17 additions and alterations. And next slide is 2.1 guiding principles for design. When staff looked at this, the landmark building is fully retained in the proposal. The addition is contemporary in material, expression, and does not replicate the bow limestone detailings. Its massing aligns with vertical proportions and historic structures, while remaining clearly distinguishable. So this proposal meets the guidelines. For 2.3 scale and form, the addition maintains proportions alignments with the landmark vertical articulation and does not overwhelm or obscure the historic facade. This meets the guidelines. 2.4 building features, design, which is like with the design of window openings. The new fiberglass windows within the addition are proportionally aligned and contemporary in detailing. They do not imitate historic fenestration, but relate to it in scale and rhythm. This proposal meets the guidelines. 2.5, materials and detailing. This addition proposes fiber cement vertical siding, fiber cement panels, fiberglass windows, and concrete elements. These materials are contemporary and clearly different. I cannot say that today. They are different from the lines. I cannot get that word out today. They're different from the limestone landmark, and they do not attempt to replicate the historic materials and are subordinate in visual hierarchy. This proposal meets the guidelines. 1.21 masonry. The removal of the rear stained, that's typo. Why is that? Oh, okay, I see what happened. So I'm on the analysis page. Was that both in there? So analysis. The proposal does not meet the window section of the guidelines because these windows are considered special. Just technical difficulties all around today. The Old Town National Bank is highly significant in our commercial district. The proposal meets substantial rehabilitation, adaptive expansion, intended for ensuring long-term visibility. No character-defining primary elements are proposed for removal. The addition is appropriately different and subordinate to the location. As far as location and materials, the height and addition do not exceed historical structure. Flood mitigation measures are reasonable and reversible. Accessibility improvements are sensitive and incorporated in the masonry repair aligns with preservation's best practices. The project demonstrates thoughtfully integration to new construction with a designated landmark and maintains architectural integrity of the building. So for a recommendation, staff is approving recommendation with final details to come back to staff level.
Anthony, thank you, sir. Do we have the applicant? Is Aaron here? Aaron, come on up. And I didn't want to mess up your last name, just for the record. Zephyr. Okay, yeah.
I don't have much to add. This is, I think,
As Anthony mentioned, UDAP has reviewed the majority of this project. So this is really the elevator and trash chute addition on the old building. And our clients are here, Healthcare for the Homeless, Episcopal Housing Partnership. They've done a few of these sojourner projects in the city already.
Right.
This is their latest permanent supportive housing downtown.
Understood. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Aaron? Okay. Seeing none. Aaron, thank you, sir.
Yep.
I'm looking at public testimony, and for this project, our only public testimony was Aaron, unless I have made a mistake. Is there anyone else? Okay. Commissioners, before we make a decision, do we have anyone online?
No.
Good.
No.
You said that real fast. Okay. Seeing none, commissioners, is there any deliberation that you all would like to have before we render a decision?
I just have a small note.
Yes, sir.
Just so we're looking mostly on the elevator shaft volume that's attached to the existing building. Is that correct? Just not necessarily. And the what? Basement window. Basement window.
Yeah,
I don't.
windows in the flood.
I personally don't have an issue with the window installation, but the only thing I'd say is a small note is that it looks like the materiality, it's showing materiality. I know maybe it's more that we're looking at generally massing, but since it's there, the materiality is the same materiality that's used to highlight certain elements of the lower portion of the building. And I think that we're trying to avoid providing a lot of attention to that larger mass that's been added to the side of the building. So I'm just wondering, can that be subdued and almost something that would blend in more with the existing building so that that large volume is not really read as much, and it's not the same material used as a highlight material, as a material that's used as a highlight material for the rest of the project. I think that would be my biggest comment. I think the little gasket they use in between is suitable. I just think that that larger piece doesn't seem to make sense because it's, like I said, it's being used as a highlight material other places. So that's my big comment there.
Commissioner, thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Hold on 1 second. I left my page. For 221 North Gate Street, Old Town National Bank, Baltimore City landmark. Lauren, we have Commissioner Capal's addition. Can you read that out for us, please?
Sure. Well, I guess that was a comment, but do you want to? That was a comment.
I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd add it as a.
Okay.
I don't think I'd add as an amendment.
Understood.
I think it's just a.
Okay,
Okay,
make it
wants to
sure.
add it as amendment.
Are we technically just massing and scaling, or
No.
No,
This is
this is final?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's a good suggestion too. So
Do you want me to modify the motion? Yeah.
Well, that's why, just making sure, because apparently everybody likes it, so.
I didn't know it was a motion.
There
Is
is
it?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I think we're
Pennington.
Well, are you asking about the current motion as a?
Yes, sir.
motion?
Yes, sir.
So
Mhm.
There's not a motion.
there's not a motion.
Not a
Okay,
motion.
So can I provide a motion?
Yes, sir, you may.
So I'd like to motion approval as staff recommended with the addition of a material change at the larger volume of the elevator shaft.
Can I ask a quick question? What about just a color change, even if it's the same material?
As long as it's not the highlight material, I think that's
Right,
the
no,
one
I see
thing-
the point about
Right,
the
yeah.
color material, but I
Yeah.
would suggest that maybe the color of it could just be changed to achieve the same effect.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if it's like, if the building is not changing color as it is, maybe it just needs to be the same color as the building. So it
Okay.
just becomes another volume on that side, so.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a color that would match the existing building.
Okay.
All right, so that got really long. My apologies for continuing the discussion.
It's okay.
Would you like me to give a, okay.
And then I'll give the final sentence to that.
Okay, so, Kapow, please correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, Commissioner Leanne. Approval with final details to be reviewed and approved at staff level with the directive to the applicant to change the materiality or color of the service shaft so that the large volume is not clad with the same material that is used to highlight other features.
I'll second that motion.
Was material struck from the conversation? I thought it just redounded.
No, we added material or color
Or
change.
color.
Yeah, either way to
Okay.
just, yeah.
Gotcha. So that we don't have to repeat it. Peter, did you? I seconded that. You second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? The ayes have it. Thank you. Next on our agenda, 23 South Carlton Street and 1001 Booth Street, Union Square Historic District. The request, construct a full-story addition and one-story vertical addition. The applicant is Tamara Azad, DDB Workshop, and the staff is Mr. Tariq.
Hello, commissioners. All right. So I will be saying next slide so you all can stay with me. As part of the PowerPoint, I did design the PowerPoint in a way where you can follow me as I speak. So we're on the starting page. This is for 9 and 23 South Carlton Street. The request is to construct a 4-story addition and 1-story vertical addition at 9 and 23 South Carlton Street in the Union Square Historic District. Our applicant is Tamir Azad. The owner is Booth Street Investments, LLC, and the staff members, myself, Tariq Charles. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Next slide. The sites at 9 and 23 South Carlton Street are in the Union Square Local Historic District, an alley street running north and south with the West Baltimore Street to the north and Holland Street to the south. The site is located half a block north of Holland's Market. Next slide. The sites at 9 and 23 Carlton Street are in the Union Square. Oh, my goodness. Next slide. The existing property is comprised of 5 properties of 9 South Carlton Street, which is a consolidated parcel that has a 3-story bay warehouse, 3-story bay late 19th century warehouse structure. Next slide. Next slide. And next slide. All right, as you can see here, this is our 1890 Sanborn map. Next slide. The present 3-story building appears as a junk warehouse in the 1901 Sanborn map. Next slide. Windows on the primary west elevation are wood, 2/2 within arch window openings. Metal grills cover the first four windows. A wood panel entry door with a wood header and surround is covered by a security gate at the first floor. Masonry fills a wide arch opening at the southern side of the primary facade. The building has a very narrow masonry cornice at the roof. The north and south elevations where buildings previously abutted 9 South Carlton have been partially stuccoed. At the rear, the main building's east elevation has a large roll-down metal door. 6 window openings on the second floor and the third floor windows have been filled with concrete block. Next slide. A 1-story early 20th century concrete block addition with a metal roll-down garage door is attached to the main building and fronts on Booth Street that historically had the address of 1100 Booth Street. Next slide. This concrete block building was constructed sometime between 1914 and 1950. Next slide. This concrete block building was, that's a repeat. Next slide. Images of 9 South Carlton Street in the 1970s and 1980s show all of its openings on the Carlton Street side boarded up. Next slide. The portion of the parcel is a vacant lot that used to be the site of buildings at 3, 5, and 7 South Carlton Street, the latter two of which were demolished in 2013 following a partial collapse. Next slide. The property at 23 South Carlton is also comprised of several consolidated lots that have historically had 2- and 3-story brick storage buildings. Next slide. By 1971, all but one have been demolished, and today the consolidated lot is vacant. Next slide. Abutting the eastern side of 23 South Carlton Street are 3 more vacant parcels that are part of this project, fronting onto Booth Street. Historically, there were 2 brick alley houses and a brick storage building on the lots, but these were demolished before 1971, when the site was a junkyard, according to the Sanborn map. Next slide, and we should be on the background. All right, next slide with the first image after the background. April 6, 1987, a notice to proceed was issued to open brick-in windows and install wood windows along with the installation of doors, sills, and stuccoing of 9 South Carlton Street. Next slide. And next slide. As you can see here are the images from 1987 showing the rear 1-story addition being used as a garage, active garage. Next slide. On this slide where you see 4 images, you will see the buildings with the openings blocked in. Next slide. All right. In November 16, 2005, a notice to proceed was issued for roof and window repair, repointing masonry and painting trim at 9 South Carlton Street. Next slide. On October 15, 2009, a notice to proceed was issued for the repair of damaged brick walls and the covering of stucco at 9 and the covering of brick with stucco and painting of trim at 9 South Carlton Street. Next slide. All right. And then in June 12, 2018, a proposal was approved on the consent agenda to rehabilitate the building, including the construction of a roof deck on the rear addition and changing a window opening to a door. The project did not move forward. Next slide. All right, bear with me. We're on the proposal now. The proposal is to construct a 4-story, 41-foot high mixed-use structure around the existing 3-story historic warehouse building at 9 South Carlton Street. The 1-story rear addition, which was previously 1100 Booth Street before consolidation, will be demolished as part of this redevelopment. Next slide. The building will have a rooftop deck on the historic building's roof, which will cover half of the footprint of the historic building's roof. The rear of the building will have a 1-story vertical addition that will match the height and detailing of the adjacent 4-story additions. The building's main entrances will be on the South Carlton Street facade, where 2 contemporary residential storefronts will access the residential units. The historic structure will receive a standard double door and a roll-up garage door in existing openings to access the commercial space on the 1st floor. On the rear, west elevation, the building will be accessed by new garage doors and residential egress doors offset from Booth Street. There will be a 9-car surface parking lot accessible from Booth Street. Next slide. On the facade of South Carlton Street, the new 4-story construction flanks both sides of the historic warehouse, with the pedestrian entrance located on either side of the historic building. 1st floor storefronts. Oh, my goodness. The facade will be built up to the 2nd floor with brick masonry on the south side of the facade and to the 1st floor and the remainder of the facade. The bays closest to the warehouse building contain recessed balconies finished with vertical wood siding. The windows are a combination of contemporary single pane, double hung, and two pane casement windows. Above the brick masonry, the facade is clad in fiber cement panels. The warehouse building's roof will receive a rooftop deck with a guardrail that is recessed from the facade. Next slide. The north elevation is mostly clad in horizontal cementitious smooth lap siding with small sections of brick at the first floor. The south elevation is mostly clad in horizontal cementitious smooth lap siding but includes small sections of brick at the first and second floors. At the leftmost bay, the fiber cement paneling system wraps the corner at the third and fourth floors. The rear elevation is clad in brick masonry on the first floor and cementitious horizontal smooth lap siding at the upper floors. The upper floors will project out from the first floor by a foot or two. All right, next slide. Application of guidelines. Staff considered this design for the scale and form, building features, and materials in detailing. Staff applied the following sections of the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines. Sorry, I misspoke. In reviewing this proposal. 1.8.10, roof decks. 1.17, alterations and additions. 2.1, guiding principles for new design. 2.2, site design. 2.3, scale and form. 2.41, building entrances. 2.5, roofs. 2.51, doors and windows. And 2.52, materials. Next slide. Starting off with 1.810, roof decks. The roof deck on the third floor of the historic warehouse building will be located at the front of the building, but will be set back from the facade by an unspecified but sufficient amount so that there will be limited visibility of the rooftop deck. The railings in the proposed design are not detailed enough for comment at this stage, but appear to be simple. The proposal would meet this guideline. Next slide. As far as 1.17, alterations and additions. In this proposal, the rear half of the historic warehouse building will have a one-story vertical addition matching the height of the four-story additions on either side of the historic warehouse. In this case, the additions on either side of the historic warehouse have a variation of fenestration and detail that makes the whole read as three separate masses. The proposal does introduce balconies on the facade, which does not have a historic precedent in the neighborhood, but serves a purpose of pulling the massing of the four-story addition away from the volume of the historic warehouse a bit. Thus, while the proposal introduces a new feature, staff finds that doing so is appropriate. In this case, the proposal partially meets this guideline. Next slide. Here's a diagram showing which shows a distinguishing from the old from the new. Basically, the relief that the recessed balconies are providing from the historic structure. And then as you move to the next slide, you'll see a separation detail where you can see an actual plan view of those balconies, and you can see a perspective aerial of that balcony space and its interaction with the warehouse structure. Next slide. Moving to 2.1, guiding principles for new design. The proposal includes the demolition of the rear one-story concrete block warehouse addition. However, staff does not believe that this addition is historically or architecturally significant, and thus the proposal to demolish it does not go against this guideline. A portion of the facade incorporates the character-defining row house fenestration. The building is designed to be contemporary in nature in terms of materials. Almost all of the buildings within the neighborhood have brick fronts, and this building introduces cementitious cladding as a dominant material on the building, including on the front facade. This building can be distinguished from historic buildings through its materials, form, mass, and architectural features. The proposal largely meets these guidelines. Next slide. And here's a site plan showing all of the parcels and to be consolidated to construct, and the portions to be demolished, as mentioned in my previous comment. Next slide. 2.2, site design. Next slide. The proposal maintains existing property line patterns, alleys, orientation, and setbacks from the sidewalk. It also follows the historic pattern of building widths and spaces between buildings. The design integrates the historic structure's form and envelops it on the north and south. The building's main entryway will be accessed on South Carlton Street in the rear via a parking lot off Booth Street. This proposal meets these guidelines. Next slide. All right, 2.3 scale and form. The proportions of solids to voids and rhythm of the new construction has not successfully responded to the existing historic building or adjacent historic buildings. The design creates its own rhythm separate from the structure on site and adjacent properties. While there is not a historic precedent for a 4-story structure on South Carlton Street, which is an alley street, the extensive demolition on this block results in a block with more freedom regarding compatible scale and massing. The massing is compatible with other 4-story structures in the surrounding historic neighborhood. On South Carlton Street, the contemporary oversized windows are not compatible in placement, size, and scale. Floor-to-floor heights and datums are compatible with the existing historic building and buildings on Holland Street. The proposal partially meets this guideline. Next slide. 2.4 building entrances. And you can go to the next slide, and you can see the 2 building entrances highlighted in red in the visual I've provided. The building's main entrances are located on South Carlton Street through new residential storefronts. At the rear, the building is accessed via 2 new residential and 2 garage doors. These entrances are to serve mainly as egress out of the building onto the lot leading to Booth Street. The proposal meets this guideline. Next slide, 2.4.5 roofs. The surrounding roofs are generally flat or have a low pitch. The proposed new construction has a low pitch roof as well. The rooftop infrastructure on the 4th floor appears to be sufficiently set back and will not be highly visible from the street. The proposal meets these guidelines. Next slide. 2.51 doors and windows. The proposed doors meet these guidelines. The proposed windows in the proposed new construction are a combination of modern 1-pane and 2-pane windows. The window grid orientation is not compatible in scale and placement due to them not aligning with the adjacent historic structure. Next slide. The windows on the historic row house buildings and neighboring properties are double-hung wood windows. The proposed windows are all contemporary in style, serving as a clear visual cue of what portions of the building are new construction. This partially meets these guidelines. Next slide. Finally, 2.5.2 materials. The dominant building material in the historic district is brick. The proposal clads the 1st and 2nd floors in brick on the facade, and all floors contain vertical wood siding as an accent element. The 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors of the new construction are clad in fiber cement panels. On the rear, the building is clad in brick, with cementitious horizontal smooth lap siding on the upper floors. The north and south elevations are predominantly clad in cementitious horizontal lap siding, with a small amount of brick on the 1st floor, which wraps around from the facade and rear. On the south elevation, the brick and cementitious panels wrap around from the facade by a dozen feet or so, with an abrupt transition to horizontal lap siding on the rest of the blank elevation. The proposal partially meets these guidelines. Next slide. We are now on the analysis page. The proposal for 4-story contemporary new construction enveloping a historic warehouse building largely meets the design guidelines. The massing and scale are appropriate for this project and this alley street because of the existing context. With all of the demolition on the block, the context of the block expands to the adjacent block of Holland Street, which has a greater scale. The floor-to-floor and overall building height of the building align with the historic row homes on the block and neighborhood, therefore meets these guidelines. The rooftop deck is not highly visible and meets the design guidelines. The materials deserve greater study. The doors meet the design guidelines. However, the windows are not in alignment and are larger in scale than those of the historic building anchoring the project. Therefore, they partially meet the guidelines. The proposal calls for substantial amounts of contemporary cladding materials on all elevations, which does not comply with the design guidelines directive regarding the utilization of the dominant construction material and compatibility of cladding materials with surrounding buildings. Staff believes that the applicant should explore utilizing more brick on the facade and revise the cladding materials on side elevations. Next slide. We're on neighborhood comments. The Union Square Arc, Hollins Roundhouse Neighborhood Association, and Southwest Partnership have been informed of this proposal. CHAP staff have received letters in support of the proposal from Union Square Association, Hollins Roundhouse Community Association, Southwest Partnership, Thomas Hams, and Nicole King. The applicant stated via email that the community has voiced concerns about the proportion of contemporary materials to traditional brick. Next slide. As far as recommendation, CHAP staff recommends concept approval of the design with the final proposal to return to the commission. Staff further recommends the final plans explore greater use of brick on the facade, refine the fenestration on the facade, and revise the cladding details on the side elevations. Thank you, commissioners.
Tariq, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Tariq? Yes, sir.
Not a question, but more so of a comment. Good presentation. I will note that I will just say thank you to the developer and architect who is also here, who I think did a really good job in terms of connecting with our office, but also with the community. I know there are people, residents from both Union Square and Hollins Roundhouse who are here as well. But I'm glad you talked about the materials and the connection between the old and the new, and it's not so duplicative, but it also fits within the environment of the community. So again, good work on all fronts.
Councilman, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Well, Mr. Tamir, come up. And Tamir, I don't ever want to mess up your last name, so please give your full name when you come up.
To talk every time? All right, so it's Tamer. I always tell this since grade school. Tamer like hammer, right? So however you say the name tool hammer is Tamer, and then last name Ezat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Obviously, there's a lot to talk about here. This is a kind of ambitious project. What we're trying to really do is highlight, in this design, what we're attempting to do with the utilization of brick is to highlight kind of programmatic elements with the residential component. So what you can speak to on the kind of where the brick jumps up in mass and kind of becomes 2 stories, that's the kind of emblematically represent our 2-story kind of 1-bedroom walk-up units that we have to kind of relate to that townhouse aesthetic that exists historically in that neighborhood. And so what we're trying to do is kind of highlight the existing masonry warehouse in so much as the brick that we introduce around it does not envelop that historic structure. So while it isn't by the guideline exactly the same materials that represent in that historic district, what we're also trying to speak to is progress within a neighborhood that has seen disinvestment for the better part of 2 decades. So while we're also trying to balance that historic masonry structure that anchors the project, we're also trying to envelop it with new and represent both time and its place of construction, but also the progress and what we see in the future of neighborhoods like this. So I think it's a great comment from staff to continue to explore that, and I think we were always envisioning a 2-part process to this. It's too large of a project to just get a blanket approval. As we continue to develop the technical details and the design of it, both from a mechanical, electrical, plumbing, but also site design, I think all of that's on the table, and that's not something we're necessarily shying away from. But I am trying to be very deliberate about how much masonry introduce here as to highlight the historic nature of that old 1800s kind of masonry anchor to this building. Which you can kind of tell from the site plan as well. We're trying to limit our perforations into that building as much as possible to really maintain it. So as part of that, I can have this little pass around little thing. We're just, so it's, yeah, so you can kind of pass that around.
Did you know it was going to be busted up?
Something new for
Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool.
Oh, bring it over here. I got to see that.
So So what we wanted to highlight with that model is not to necessarily represent a facadectomy, you know, the concept of keeping the face and tearing off everything else. We're really trying to have this building intervention really hug it, and that's really our focus with this project. So, and as much as from the outside perspective, when you're looking at contemporary renderings, oh my gosh, like it doesn't look like anything like we have here. I think there's more to the story here, and I want the commission to be aware of that, and it is something we're intentionally studying and trying to represent in both graphics but also three-dimensional. So that's what we've taken around as, you know, community members walk by, and a few are here. We try to bring them into the building and say, hey, come look at our, you know, study models, and we're right there on the corner around from this building. So being there in Hollins Market specifically is really generated this idea in the first place, and seeing that building just sitting there, and how do we really push the envelope? And to touch on scale real quick, back in 2017, I'm sure a lot of you were here, there was transform zoning, and communities weighed in on the type of zoning they wanted to see in commercial districts like this. This is a C1 zoning, so everything we're doing is by right. So as a CHAP commission, how much do we want to pay attention to the overlay of what density is allowed by right, and also the historic nature of CHAP commissions like this and CHAP districts like this? So how do we bring density to formerly very active commercial districts while also balancing the scale and relationship to other buildings, right? So we're really trying that delicate balance. We could have gone to 68 feet, we could have done to 42 units. We're really trying to strike that unit, and that would be all by right. So we're really trying to emphasize those pieces and balance all of that. So I think we have a couple people here from the community. I'll get off the mic. I'll come back if there's questions that I can approach, unless.
Timmy, before you stay there before you leave. Are there any questions from, yes, ma'am, from the commissioners?
Hi, Tamara.
Hi, Sarah.
Does this building have a main entrance? Like, where would a guest for one of the
It
residents
would be the right
enter?
side entrance, which is what that kind of like.
Through the amenity space?
The amenity space is really just mainly like lobby kind of. I'm just calling it amenity for the purposes of.
But is it
Yes,
like
that
a
would be that
primary
lobby
entrance?
Yes, correct.
I guess my thoughts here are that I see that what you're trying to do with breaking up this larger volume, considering there's a lot of smaller buildings in this neighborhood. But I think it's not that big of a building, and I think it might be a little bit too broken up.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, I'm looking on the right side of the facade and how, well, on the left side of the existing construction, you've got the one-story base and the 3 stories above. And then to the right, you're breaking up those, 5 bays or 6 bays or whatever, so that some of it's 2 over 2 and some of it's 3 over 1. And I would suggest that it be consistent on either side of the existing building. If at first I thought, well, maybe this is lower because there's an entrance here and you're trying to project the entrance, but I just think there's maybe more things going on here that are needed, and that perhaps looking at 3 over 1 on both sides would work.
That study model that you have there was kind of initially
But
what
I
we were
think that-
doing, but the
Right.
issue, the 2 over 2 concept
But
was
if
really
this is
those-
brick
Yeah.
here and this is panel here, then the contrast isn't going to come through with the color.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, personally, I don't think the building needs any more brick. I think it's new construction in the addition, and the things that are being put up are modern and would look great. But yeah, I get, so my comment would be, take a look at keeping this volume on the right side more.
It's like you found the one piece that I've been struggling with the most. So the double story kind of brick to the right, those are those, as you know, dwelling
The
units
loft.
on the ground floor are always tough to lease, and nobody wants to live on the ground floor. So what we're trying to do is play with both the functional aspect of those types of units on the ground floor, but also kind of speak to like row home in a way. So this almost looked like this was like you're bringing together a couple different pieces, right? So it kind of speaks to that. I know what
I
you're
see
saying,
that
though.
that is what you're going for.
I know, I see it.
I think that it makes it seem more like, then the existing building looks like an existing building, and then the loft units with the narrow windows also look like they were an existing building. But they're
Right.
not, they're new.
I totally get that, yeah.
I think the loft unit could still work if the facade, if that same facade language was the second story.
Yeah, I think that's a relatively straightforward tweak. I like that.
To me, I was going to add, Tamara, I remember going to Holland Street Market, and I couldn't find a place to park. I turned the corner, and I drove, and I saw this big, fat parking lot. And I just saw the cars there. Didn't stay long. So I'm trying to, after seeing your drawings, I know your building is utilizing that parking lot. Am I correct?
No,
Oh, it's
so
not?
it's facing that park, that big
Oh,
parking lot
gotcha.
that you saw. That's parking authority.
Right.
It's a big, like 30 spot kind of underutilized parking
But the
space
one, the,
area.
the one that, I'm sorry, the one that doesn't have lanes.
Yeah, so that is like right now, if you look at it, it's like a big concrete
That's right.
pad.
That's right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they use that, I guess, like you saw in the background photos, as like accessory parking to what used to be an automotive shop or something like that back in the 80s.
Mhm.
This is filling in that block and completing the urban edge that right now kind of bleeds away from that parking lot. So
So your building would be on that?
Correct.
So I wanted to ask you, what have you all considered about parking? I'm just asking, because
So what we're doing is providing parking on the backside of the property.
Gotcha.
So I think there's a site plan in one of your 100 pieces of papers you have in front of you.
Okay.
So we're consolidating all of those lots so that coming up Booth Street, we're not building out the entire lot. What we're doing is creating that back access off of Booth Street that'll have about 9 parking spots. We still have yet to go through SPRC, which is the Site Plan Review Committee. We're showing parking spaces that are code compliant. If we can squeeze more, if they'll let us kind of like tweak with the code a little bit, we'll attempt to do so.
Cool.
But right now, by right and by letter of the code for SPRC, we have 9 spots.
Understood.
And that'll function for loading as well for retail. So nobody's really coming in off the street edge off Carlton. So we're trying to keep everything on the back of the house.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I know
Yes,
you
ma'am.
had something.
Why in the rendering does it look like the street is tabled at the entry with bollards?
Yeah, so we had a pre-design meeting. Right now, the sidewalk is only like 3.5 feet wide. So what they want us to do is raise the front roadway in front of Carlton and potentially explore pedestrianizing Carlton from coming vehicular traffic coming south. That's a DOT overlay piece there that was really going to take a lot of community support and all of that. I don't know if I want to take that on with this project, but we're showing it to be transparent about what DOT wants us to do in an exploratory way. So it'll be tabling it up so that the right-of-way is more functional from actually like walking on a wide sidewalk, but that's the intent that they want us to explore. I don't know if we'll actually sign up for that because, as Councilman Bullock would attest, in that community, that a lot has to happen for that kind of stuff to be approved. So we'll probably just raise that concrete drive and then do the bollards in a second effort once DOT kind of pushes that through.
All right, since you're playing with the
Yeah,
model.
I'm sorry, I was playing with that. Forgive me.
Has there been any iterations for the rear of the property? Because right now, you look at the back, and yes, it's a secondary elevation, I
Sure.
acknowledge that. But it pretty much just kind of smashes the new building into the old, and it's all kind of really flat. Is that because you're trying to maximize, the developable area, or there's just not the same kind of thought as what you were trying to put into the front? So I'm curious what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, right now, based on the footprint and what we could do on the first floor, it's like 60 feet in depth, and we're just trying to squeeze back from a unit usability and value. We're trying to gain some space on the upper floors for the residential component, right? We're not going to add to the rear part of the building that is historic, but we're trying to gain back some, let's say, usable area for leasability. Now, on the study model, you'll see that we kind of, at the old building, kind of recessed that plane so that read a little bit more vertical. That's something that's still on the table that we're going to probably study. This was kind of like pencils down, let's submit, see what the commission thinks before I get in trouble. So that's kind of where we're at, and it's still going through some of that refinement. As you know, it's early days.
Yeah, because to me, looking at the little study model, there are aspects of that personally I think work better than the renderings we're seeing. Maybe part of it is by the virtue of being kind of all the same color. It helps, it reads a little differently, right? And so the back, while it's a secondary facade, it's still pretty large, and it fronts up to several other properties and things like that. So I would encourage you just to kind of take another look at that and don't forget it. But since we're really talking about scale and massing,
Sure.
I think there's a lot you could do with that that's not necessarily taking away your unit counts. So.
Yeah, it's difficult playing this duality role that we're doing as both the architect and also the person trying to make sure that it works with the overall budget. So some of those things, let's just see how it starts to shake out and evolve. And this is still very much clay model moment, right? Whether it's a physical model or digital one. So yeah, I totally agree. That would be a comment we can study.
Okay. Any other comments? Yes, sir.
We're in comments now, like even questions, comments, questions.
Oh, questions?
Okay.
It's all, yeah.
I just had a few comments, Tamara. Like, these are not in any particular order, but I agree with the comments that have already been said. Definitely, I think the back facade can be explored more, but it sounds like you're going to do that. The one small detail on the corner, like I appreciate the reveal, the attempt for the reveal at the two kind of connections to the old building. I don't know if it's necessary. I feel like that almost, I thought it was actually a model discrepancy, before. So I think it could look like a mistake when it's that subtle. I think you can just keep the volumes solid and just kind of run into the building. It's
Like
fine.
to reveal at the transition of materials?
Like you show it in a detail on page, I don't know what page.
The balcony recess, you mean?
Right, yeah. There's like a little, just a little indentation.
Yeah, we were trying to show the brick corner of
Yeah.
the building a little bit, just because I don't like
Right.
coplanar kind of transition. So it was really just a small, but I see you're already picking up on
I
that.
think you could fix that by like even if your balconies turn to a different color and that maybe starts to match what the railings are doing, so that you can still have that gasket. It's kind of, I think that I appreciate that you're already doing the patio as a transition. Like
So
that
it's really
itself
just
is
that
already a
reveal
transition.
Yeah,
Doing another
yeah.
transition just seems a little bit like much, right? So I think in my opinion, it would just be cleaner if you didn't do that. And I would revisit the patios and see if it makes sense to kind of incorporate the patio with the railing to make it more even evident that you're creating two intentional separations on either side. That's one comment there.
Make them more different.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I go against a little bit on our staff. Just 1 second for brick. I think, if you did brick on maybe on the white portion of the volume, that could be a different story. But I think I agree with the idea that, that the historic building is the historic building, and I wouldn't introduce brick in this particular design the way you have it. I think I'd try to consolidate. I would try to find ways to simplify the materiality, so you don't have too many. So if you have the wood already, does that wood want to wrap around, become the material of those units there that are on the end? I would say also too is that I see both ways that you're looking at it. I understand the idea that it's a different unit and you're trying to accentuate different programming within to kind of to find itself outside. And I get that. I think sometimes you don't have to if they're not that super important. So sometimes they could just be hidden inside the building, and you could simplify the massing and the design just being a continue 3 levels of white volume. I think that's one way to look at it. If you do decide like these are truly important and they truly need to be visual, I don't think it needs to go to a typical interpretation of an old row house, because as mentioned before, it could look like you saved those facades and you kind of made them into, so I that didn't happen, right? So I think that there is this idea that you're trying to make something out of the existing building and let that be a little bit of a historic jewel in the middle. The rest of it should really read as contemporary. So that means the window should go as a contemporary opening, or you can consolidate your window openings with the rest of the building, so it doesn't have.
Make it easier, yeah.
It'll make it easier, it's simpler, but also it makes your volume, it makes the contemporary building more consolidated and more intentional, I think, in my opinion, but I think that's it. Yeah, that's my comments.
Let's get back.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, I just had one more thought staring at this. I do think we talk a lot about materiality in response to neighborhoods around us. So while I agree this is a contemporary building, I do like having some element of brick on it. But I do think that the kind of percentage of brick could get rearranged some way that makes sense. And the other thought I had is you don't necessarily, in my opinion, I don't know how other commissioners, have to treat the two major volumes exactly the same, right? Because they are separated by this historic building. So I don't know if in kind of moving things around, if that would help with budget, with still limiting kind of more expensive materials, but getting it to look right. But that was just another thought I had.
It could be a color change, like kind of before, like, because if even in their design, that side of the building programmatically is different than the other side. So you could accentuate that way as opposed to all the different parts, you know.
Anyone else? Okay. Tamara, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. On our list, we have one person for public testimony, Johns Hopkins.
Hi, is this on? Hi, good afternoon, Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage. From a historic preservation standpoint, I'm going to say something that I don't think that I've said in my 23 years coming here. What is not to like about this project? It saves a historic building. It respects a historic building. It utilizes a number of vacant lots that are really crummy in the neighborhood right now. Its architects and builders have a track record of historic preservation and a track record of completing projects that they start. And they moved from Howard County to right around the corner as a commitment to helping this neighborhood. So I'm going to urge you to give every possible green light to this project as fast as possible. And I'm going to offer something that I'm going to run out the room because I have to be in Annapolis, but you're going to say, what is he talking about? I heard a bunch of discussion at this table among the architect commissioners, and that's fabulous. It seemed like there was almost no discussion over the historic preservation and the CHAP parts of this project. So here's the controversial thing I'm going to offer is the staff have recommended preliminary approval and come back to this commission. I'm going to suggest maybe you could get final approval to this with the condition that the applicant work with the neighborhood and the architect commissioners who have some insight into what might be tiny little tweaked about this project to make it better. Give these folks the green light. This neighborhood deserves it. This project deserves it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johns.
And I do have to run to Annapolis.
Say, be safe. Be safe. Commissioners, before we make a final recommendation, want to give everyone an opportunity to speak. But do we have anyone? Oh, that's why everybody was pointing to you. Okay, come on. Give us your full name. Yes, sir. And as before you begin, Tyreek, do we have anyone online?
No.
No? You said that too fast. Okay, thanks.
Okay. I'm Biff Browning. I'm with the Union Square ARC, and Tyreek did mention both, but they're separate organizations, and the Union Square Association Board. Both have approved this project. Most of everything y'all have kind of already touched, so I just want to add a few things to go with what John said. We're very proud of this project because it does two things that came out of a studies that we did when we were forming into the Southwest Partnership area. It builds density back around the market, which is vital to the market ever succeeding and growing. And it reconnects West Baltimore Street to the Hollins Market commercial districts. So we go from having two competing commercial districts to an adjoined growing district, similar to what you've seen in Hamden when the Avenue and the Rotunda and all that joined forces. This is a vital project to us in making Carlton Street a connector again that brings people in. It also takes a parking lot that's very underused and encourages people to feel safe parking over there, even though they're providing parking for their tenants. There will be a business in there that we're very happy to have come in as well. And hopefully we'll make people coming to the market realize, hey, there's a whole parking lot over here, because as you were saying, as you drove by, everybody drives by. If they don't think they can park right alongside the market, they never utilize that other parking lot. The other part we were very proud to see is exactly that. They preserved our historic properties, but some of y'all who've been on the board longer know we've been here in previous kind of fights before, that if a building is being done, we fight strong for that building to be done historically. But if it's a lot where new construction is, we don't want to be a neighborhood frozen in the past for new construction. We believe buildings will come historic over time, but we should reflect that we're not just the 1860s to the 1910s in our buildings, that there could be new buildings built in and open lots. So I appreciate y'all recognizing that too, that there will be a new construction that will envelop the building, but he's preserving the historic building that has the character of the time of the market, but also shows the potential of the future. That also aligns kind of with the biopark that's right next to it, with some of the other things happening around, so we don't look like a place frozen in time and a people frozen in time. We want to be a welcoming place to all people, to more businesses and more density. And with that, I'll say thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you. Seeing that we don't have any one online, I'm going to go right to our commissioner so we can deliberate.
So, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking as we think about the motion to put forward that we recommend concept approval but the 3 staff recommendations, which are explore the greater use of brick on the facade, refine the fenestration on the facade, and revise cladding details on the side elevations. And I forget actually what that's specifically in reference to. I don't know that I agree with any of those 3 recommendations. The one that I would make, which I propose for discussion, is to simplify the 2 new masses so there are fewer distinct conditions and sort of leave it at that.
Sarah, explain that to me. Go back.
Well, so right now, the 2 new masses on either side of the existing there's one condition, well, on the left, we've got a 3/1 fiber cement over brick type. Then on the right side of the existing building, the first bay or 2 bays, you've got then you have the balconies. And the balconies come down, and then there's the 3/2 with fiber cement, and I'm not looking at it, I'm just remembering. With the fiber cement over wood, I think. And then to the right of that, there's 2/2, and it's fiber cement over brick, and it's express. So there's a lot of different conditions. So when I say different with fewer distinct conditions, I mean facade treatments, maybe is a better term.
About simplified facade materials, fenestration, and massing.
I think that would, I think that we've kind of made our points so they understand what that would mean.
Yeah.
I mean, I trust that they took the notes, and I think that they just should look at all those things and revisit. The question is, do you want them to come back to commission or go to staff?
Kath?
Wanted to make sure I wasn't jumping in front of anyone. Question back to you, Lauren. I feel like we tried this once upon a time and couldn't make it work with our rules, which is having like a smaller architectural review committee. And I just wanted to say, because John's made the comment, that's something that we have tried before, and unfortunately, it just doesn't really work with all the rules we have to comply with. So,
yeah, you go.
I was going to say I agree with Sarah's comments. I also agree with Kapow's comment if you could even make it a one side or the other, maybe get some differentiation there. That being said, I'm not at all opposed to the current proposal, so I would be fine with approval and leaving it to staff. But
I don't think we have to respond to John's comments. I think that the recommendation should be modified to strike 1, which is explore greater use of brick on the facade, and replace it with simplified facade materials and massing. Fenestration's already covered, and the cladding details on the side elevation remain. So that's the motion that I would put forward.
So if I heard you right, and we're only changing motion number 1, option 1.
Yeah, that covers it, I think.
Okay.
But keeping refine the fenestration. I mean, it all comes out of that. Yeah, I mean, I think Catherine, in the past when we did the committee, it was with a proposal that came before us again and again and again, and it was problematic.
Right.
Whereas I see good work coming out of this proposal, and I think that these
I wasn't saying we
designers.
needed to meet. I was just saying we've tried, and
So that's the
it
motion
just
I put
doesn't work.
forward.
All right, let's go. Let's say it the right way.
So before we put the motion, is there any other discussion we need to have as a team? Okay, seeing none. Let's do this. Lauren, can you share with us the new number 1?
I'm sorry, before we go there.
Before we go there.
I think that the question came up of whether it comes back to the committee, the commission, or staff, and I feel like since in this instance, the staff and the commission were on a little bit of a different page about direction, that it makes sense to come back to the commission.
That's fine.
If
I
people
agree.
agree.
Tomorrow's anything you want to add? You good? Doc? Okay.
I'm good.
Okay.
Do you want me to get, okay.
By all means.
So, the proposed, revised motion on the table is concept approval design with final proposal to return to the commission. Staff further recommends that the final plans, 1, simplify the facade materials and massing, 2, refine the fenestration on the facade, 3, revise the cladding details on the side elevations.
Do I have a motion to push the recommendation forward?
Yeah, that was my motion, and it
And
has
I'll
been
second
seconded.
You second it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Yes. Next on our agenda, we have 26 South Calhoun Street, Union Square Historic District. The request, replace stained glass windows on rear elevation. The applicant is Pastor Akin. Akin? Man, I thought I had it. And the staff is Mr. Tariq.
Thank you, Commissioners. And the owner of the property is New Southwest Baptist Church. All right, same thing as last time. You can follow me on your slide presentation. So next slide, we're on page 2. The site is at 24th South Calhoun Street in the Union Square Historic District. Next slide, which is a dense area of row homes and commercial structures located in southwest Baltimore. 2 major features define the district: Union Square Park, a donation to the city in the 1840s, and the Hollins Market, the oldest market building in the city. Next slide. The property is a 2-story Gothic Revival style church with brick covered in stucco on the first floor and wood framing on the upper floors. Next slide. Located at the northwest corner of South Calhoun Street and Boyd Street and Alley Street. Next slide. There is a small concrete pad within the rear yard that fronts the rear yard of a row home to the west and Boyd Street to the south. Next slide. The facade, west elevation, fronts South Calhoun Street to the east. Next slide. And the north elevation faces a walking alley in the rear of row homes. Next slide. The south elevation faces Boyd Street. Next slide. The 2-story frame church was built sometime between 1890 and 1901, according to the Sanborn Fire Insurance Maps. Next slide. Initially, the church housed the Calhoun Street Church of Disciples before its name change to the Calhoun Street Christian Church, visible in the 1914-1915 Sanborn map. The building maintained the same congregation into 1950 as shown in the 1950 Sanborn map. Next slide. The current congregation residing within the structure started as the congregation on Carroll Street in Morrill Park in 1963. In 1964, the congregation moved to a location on Letitia Avenue. In 1969, the congregation moved to its current location at 2426 South Calhoun Street, and given its current name, Southwest Baptist Church. Next slide. Both the facade, east elevation, and rear, west elevation of the building have large arched window frames that contain several stained glass windows, including a rose window, lancet, and arched windows, and a rectangular window. Both groups of stained glass windows are covered with Lexan polycarbonate to protect the stained glass. Next slide. The rose windows on the front and the rear of the church share the same floor pattern, differing in color, which indicates that they were installed at the same time, likely in the 19th century. There are differences between the other windows in the front and rear. Next slide. The stained glass windows at the rear appear to be largely original to the building, dating to the late 19th century, based upon the style and details such as the circular nuggets or jewels, except for one lantern window which is clearly a replacement, as it is clear glass painted to look like stained glass. The 3 smaller windows have dedications to former congregants who died in 1889, 1944, and 1945.
Sorry, can you say again which one is the painted and which one is the...
Far right.
Far right is the painted?
Yes, I should have included a red
thank you.
rectangle. Next slide. You should be seeing the hall of Southwest Baptist Church, the entire interior space. The three smallest windows are made of stock stained glass windows with no ornamentation. Several of the windows have broken or missing glass and buckling or missing lead cames which hold the stained glass together. Next slide. We're looking at the front facades windows now. The group of stained glass windows on the front of the building show evidence of upgrades, while the rose window and 5 of the smaller windows, including 2 windows that have stock glass, date to the late 19th century. 3 windows obviously upgraded, likely in the early 20th century. Next slide. 2 lancet windows and 1 rectangular window dedicated to President James A. Garfield, assassinated in 1881, have etched glass components, which became more accessible in the early 20th century. Next slide. Thus, these windows are evidence of stylistic upgrades in the early 20th century. The condition of these windows is much better with no broken glass. Next slide. We are now on to the background. Next slide. There has only been 1 ATP application for this property since the Union Square Historic District was established. On July 6, 2025, CHAP issued an ATP and a building permit for retroactive approval for the installation of HVAC condenser units and the painting of stucco, doors, and trim. Next slide, onto the proposal. And we're moving past the proposal so you can see the proposal. The applicant is proposing to replace 6 stained glass windows with new stained glass windows on the rear elevation due to their level of deterioration and inability to find a feasible solution for repair. 5 of the windows on the rear elevation are historic stained glass windows, and 1 window is a modern replacement window that is clear glass painted to look like stained glass. The stained glass windows are in various states of deterioration. The applicant stated that they intend to preserve the existing windows within the church and a permanent history of the church building display that will retain and honor the names and dates currently embedded in the glass. All right, next slide. Staff applied the following sections of the Baltimore City Historic Preservation Design Guidelines in reviewing this proposal: 1.7 windows and 1.73 window replacement. For 1.7 windows, the removal of the rear stained glass windows does not meet the guidelines, as they are categorized as special windows that are custom designed or crafted and installed during the period of significance for the Union Square Historic District. Therefore, every effort should be made to repair them based on these guidelines. This proposal would not meet this guideline. Next slide. All right. And the next slide once again, so you can see the proposal. For 1.73 window replacement, based on the photographs submitted, repair will require substantial reconstruction of the windows. The applicant shared with staff that stained glass companies informed him that repairing the windows to match would be impossible because the specialty glass used in these windows is no longer manufactured. The applicant proposed installing new stained glass windows that match the dimensions of the window openings, which complies with these design guidelines. Next slide. All right. As far as neighborhood comments, the proposal was shared with the Union Square and Holland's Roundhouse Arcs. Staff received a letter of support for this proposal from the Union Square Arc. Next slide. Analysis. The proposal does not meet the window section of the guidelines because these windows are considered special windows, and thus the windows should be retained and every effort should be made to repair them. However, the design guidelines also say in the introduction that the commission, in quote, the commission will apply these guidelines strictly or leniently based on the site conditions and visibility of each project, end quote. The windows are located on the rear of the building and are not highly visible in the neighborhood. Even the view of the windows from South North Street and the rear alley street is obscured. Due to the condition of the windows, the lack of visibility of the windows, the presence of historic stained glass windows on the front facade of the building, one of which matches the rose window on the rear, and the proposed retention of the removed stained glass windows on site, staff believes that the replacement of these rear windows with new stained glass windows with a modern design in which properly fit the window openings is appropriate in this case. Staff further urges the congregation to proactively maintain the historic stained glass windows on the front facade of the church. Next slide. As far as CHAP's recommendation, CHAP staff recommends approval of the proposal to replace the stained glass windows on the rear elevation due to the poor condition of the windows and the minimal visibility of the windows within the historic district. Thank you, Commissioners.
Tyreek, thank you, sir. Commissioners, are any questions for Tyreek? Yes, sir.
Yes.
In regards to the rear glass windows, there's the rectangle small one. It looks like there's an opening where I guess they could write something. Any idea of what that opening space is planned for or representing? If you look at the rectangle shaped one, it's kind of like a white.
A new dedication.
Yeah,
piece.
the new, they're planning on putting a new dedication right there, just curious.
They are not going to dedicate that rectangular portion to a person, no. But it will be replaced with a new stained glass window. But,
Oh, yeah, I have them answer. You know what, I'll wait for them to come out and answer it. Yeah,
so,
thank you.
but yes,
Wondered
the
if you did.
proposal has been included within your slide deck.
Got it.
Of exactly the stained glass windows they propose to install.
Tyreek, thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions for Tyreek? Sir, did you have your hand up? Did you?
I understand your question.
I was hesitating there. I mean, only the exterior of this church is under our purview as a landmark, right? As a contributing resource in the district, not the interior.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And Tyreek, I think, just being here with you all these years, our purview truly is the front facade, though, right?
All exterior changes.
All exterior. Okay. In this case, the entire exterior.
Yes, I believe.
I'm just making sure.
So we do not have purview over the display that they are going to create afterwards. If that makes sense.
Understood. Great.
Is a representative from the owner going to be speaking?
Yes.
Well, maybe I'll ask Tyreek this question. Do you know these kind of violet, light blue sections, do you know if those are supposed to be stained glass or clear vision glass?
All portions of that are stained glass windows.
Thank you.
Panes.
Okay.
Window panes.
Thank you. Seeing none, may we have Pastor Aiken come up? And give us your full name.
Good afternoon, CHAP. My name is Pastor Akin Omismi, Senior Lead Pastor at Southwest Baptist Church. On behalf of Southwest Baptist Church, we are respectfully asking the Commission to reconsider the decision to require restoration rather than replacement for three primary reasons. First, restoration will cost approximately $20,000 more than replacement. So we're just asking for a hardship exception there, which is because it's beyond our financial capacity as a small congregation. Second, restoration could take 1 or 2 years to complete, leaving a deteriorating window exposed in a place that currently exposes safety and structural concerns. And then thirdly, the window is located at the rear of the building. It's not visible from the public view, meaning replacement would not impact the historic streetscape. Our plan is to also have the preserved historic names and dates from the existing glass and a display honoring the building's history.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any questions for him? Go right ahead.
I wanted to ask your same question, Sarah, which is can you see over her shoulder? The light blue portions there, are those intended to be a colored glass, not clear glass?
Those will be stained glass.
Okay, all right. Just generally in renderings and things, when you see that color, it means clear. So.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none. Pastor, thank you.
I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. We have Salima Jones, but are they in the room? You gonna speak? Come on. And for the record, give us your full name again.
Keep turning off. Biff Browning with the Union Square Association and Union Square ARC. Y'all have asked most of the key questions. The part I would like to add that he didn't really mention is this was not something they came by lightly. They worked closely with the ARC for many months, looking at solutions. Matter of fact, we suggested several stained glass people who've done smaller projects on homes in the area. To a T, all of them were saying timeline to do a project of this size was far outside the safety of the building, since they are actively having a church in there and the glasses are deteriorating and becoming loose. The other part was the ability to match pieces of it. So we did not, at first, we were full on for repair or renovation. But because they worked so closely with it, and we were with them when they were talking to these companies and we were behind the scenes calling, we realized that it's another case of you can't fake history. You know, if you're not able to do it under the same means as before, then it might be better to have them do a new one and preserve the historical parts in a better display that can be appreciated, because it would look like a hodgepodge mess. We felt like if you had some modern stained glass and some of the historical stained glass that didn't go together, as well as the cost issue to the church and the time that it would take. In this case, we are bending a little bit from what I said in the previous thing, that we are supporting a new stained glass window for this because it is at the rear. It's more visible to the interior of the church than the rest of it, because directly behind it, there are two carriage houses and then a 5 set of garages before North Street. So the visibility to the exterior public for those, unlike the front ones, is at a minimum. So in this case, we would defer to what meets the capacity of the church, the timeline for needing to make something both beautiful again and safe for their congregation, and to help repair a building that I will really brag on this new minister. As you were mentioning, the first ATP that's been pulled by him, he is really trying to work with the ARC and with the community to restore this church and rebuild the congregation. So, thank you.
Awesome, appreciate it. Thank you. Commissioners, before we render a decision, do you like to deliberate? Any questions? Any concerns? Okay, seeing none. Tyree,
You're just not looking over here.
I'll look over here now. Talk to me. What's up?
Go first. Go ahead, sir.
All right, well, I thank you for that, but I'm warning you, I've got a lot to say.
That's
So
fine, because you may say
yeah, we're
some
probably
things.
gonna, okay, so I'm torn on this one, right? Because it's true that normally I would think, oh, the stained glass windows in a building are definitely, I mean, if they're historic, they're definitely part of the purview of something that should be preserved and restored over being replaced. But it's also true that, considering that this is stained glass and it's on the rear facade and the size of everything in the neighborhood, you really see these a lot from the inside of the building, but you just kind of barely see the design specifics of the stained glass from the exterior. And what we're talking about here is keeping the overall design composition of the stained glass in those openings, but just changing the actual glass and the designs within those panes. So I feel like they could do that and not change much about the exterior appearance, which is what we are here to discuss. Now, the one thing about it that troubles me is that, well, okay, also I just want to say that I feel like the design of the stained glass in a church, I think, is an important mode of expression of the congregation. So the ability of the congregation to choose something new that they feel expresses, their current identity is nice. But as Mr. Browning said, to use the term hodgepodge mess, and the existing windows are sort of a hodgepodge mess. And there's not a design consistency here. They've got the one that's painted that's kind of imitating the other one, but not exactly. The colors are different. You've got different panes that are not matched on their symmetrical equivalent. And they've got different color schemes. There's just a lot going on. And so the aesthetically minded person in me would love to see these change to something more consistent so that it looks more deliberate. But then there's the next but thing is that the rose window on the rear is the same as the rose window on the front. And that gives me pause in saying that replacement is okay, because normally you'd think, well, you should keep it. But anyway, those are just thoughts.
Go ahead, Lauren. I see you. I see the thoughts coming out of your head.
Well, she's not a commissioner, so go ahead.
Okay, I just didn't know if you were needed to respond to something. I too am struggling. I've done a lot of projects with a lot of stained glass, and I know that once they get to a certain level of deterioration, they can in fact be dangerous. And so while we can't consider the cost for this particular piece and what we're reviewing, I do think the safety aspect is important, because I've seen some of these buckle and collapse, and it can be a scary thing. But that said, I agree that my biggest hesitation is with the rose window. And then my second hesitation is we have a lot of churches with a lot of stained glass all throughout Baltimore. And, just with the idea of setting a precedent that we have to be concerned about. And so I guess my hot take on that is if the commission decides to approve replacement, from my perspective, I might recommend adding a language there, like due to the condition, just so it's not a kind of willy-nilly we can express ourselves. Is it in there?
That is in there specifically for that reason.
Wait, did I miss it? Hold on. Come back.
So yes, the staff recommendation is approval of the proposal to replace the stained glass windows on the rear elevation due to the poor condition of the windows and the minimal visibility of these windows in the district because of those.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, because for that reason. But I also just want to raise one, you mentioned precedent.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear that this commission did already make an approval of removal of stained glass windows on the rear of a building in Mount Vernon a few years ago. It was Anthony's item where there were 2 stained glass windows and the applicants proposed to replace them with clear glass. And it had been, I think, a rectory. It had, I can't remember, it had some sort of function. It was no longer that function anymore. But the windows were very small, but they were stained glass. They were historic. But the commission did approve the removal of them and replacement with vinyl windows because they weren't highly visible and within the district. So that is a precedent of having that, of having an approval of that. But the reason why we brought this to the commission was because it doesn't clearly meet the guidelines, and therefore it's not something that can be a staff approval.
And that's why I asked about the rear piece, because that's why I had confusion. Pastor, the reason I asked you to come up, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, with the rear windows, have you identified a historian that will actually do stained glass in the back, or are you doing clear windows in the rear?
That's what they're doing.
So you're doing, but if that's historic, I mean, do you have a historic person that's doing that, or?
Yes, the company we're working with is Washington Gas Studio.
Okay.
They were recommended from stained glass companies that work in the neighborhood, and they have done historic glass all over the country. So
that gives me clarity as to what would be placed there in comparison to the rear. Thank you. Yes.
So as a lover of old windows, particularly leaded glass windows, I think you've made a compelling case for why it's time for these. I mean, we're missing 2 of our big lancet windows. We've got a lot of mismatched glass. I agree that it's a bummer that the rose window won't match across the way, but I'm seeing a lot of gaps in that, lots of bending. they have a lifespan, and I think it's time. And I think what you've proposed to put in there is an attractive replacement. It lets you guys in your congregation put your touch on the church that you've clearly been in for over half a century at this point. So I think it's worthwhile, and I would vote to support staff's recommendation.
Yes, ma'am.
One thing, I think we're in deliberation now. I
Yeah,
believe,
so we haven't
Pastor,
voted yet,
Free to
right.
sit down if you would like, but you can stay there if you don't do.
No, you're good. Thank you. I just want to ask you.
The precedent question, now I'm kind of troubled a little bit, only because if we approve replacement of these with a totally new design, because they're in bad condition, does that set the precedent that if you let your stained glass windows deteriorate so they're so bad, you can then just replace them with whatever you want?
Gee, I feel like we've had this conversation about whole buildings.
Right, I mean, yeah. I'm a little worried about setting that as a precedent.
And I guess, and I understand your concern, but I think often we kind of put context in consideration too sometimes, whether or not someone intentionally waited years and had this property for forever, or whether or not, they tried to do their due diligence on finding an alternative before replacing them. I think these are like factors we can factor in every case by case and ensuring that it's not a situation in which someone has just waited for the building to deteriorate and now put us in a situation where we have to allow them to replace them. And I didn't get the sense that this is the case. And in the future, if I ever gotten the sense from someone, I would, be apprehensive to approve it.
All right. Oh, Peter.
If I could make a motion to
Peter, yes, you
approve
may.
staff's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstain?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble making a
yes.
decision.
Okay, then we'll go back in time.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Wait, can I abstain?
Of course you can.
Okay,
Of course you can.
quorum wise.
Because we
I
still
can
have
still
a
abstain.
quorum.
We still have a quorum, you should
Right?
abstain.
All right, I'm going to abstain.
Yeah.
You abstain.
Right.
Should I just go around the room?
Can we go around the room?
Yeah, just start here, and then you go to me last.
Councilmember Jones?
I vote to approve. Yes. Yay.
Okay. Commissioner Morrow?
Yes.
Okay. And I get to skip. Did that help you at all, Catherine?
I think I'm going to abstain too.
Okay. All right.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Approve.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And the approvals are the winner? I don't know. The motion passes. There we go.
If I
There
could
we
leave one last comment with it, just to the pastor, while you've been in touch with all these stained glass companies, do get those front ones re-cemented and make sure that they're tied back to their steel rods so they don't deteriorate to this point. And just keep up with it. A stitch in time saves 9 is a good thing to remember. But anyway,
Also, the
thank you.
stained glass windows could benefit from venting of the storm. If you have an exterior cover that's solid, like this plexiglass or whatever it is, they actually need some airflow because the buildup of condensation can deteriorate them.
Oh, I forgot to hit the gavel. Yeah. So we have to do this before we close out. We have a few transitions before we dive into our new member. I want to give a huge thank you to Councilman John Bullock. I know he's been with the commission for a minute, but since I've been here, there's been a lot of conversations that not only did he listen to, but you took to city council and championed for us and also passed some stuff for us. It's one thing to champion, it's another thing to pass. Want to really say thank you. You're a good brother, a great man, and a great community leader. Before we pass the baton, I want to give you an opportunity to speak before we close it out.
So I really appreciate the kind words. Just happy to do it. It's interesting seeing another former neighbor of mine, Biff Browning, here. And as I came on the council, it was just great being able to be on CHAP and have an historic district that's very central to our community, and just seeing all of the changes happened in Baltimore, but also learning about some other neighborhoods that I was not familiar with. I know I've learned a lot from our colleagues here. That architectural background that's gotten beefed up, I really appreciate that as well. But again, it's really just been an honor, and I will be coming back because obviously I'll have a number of bills that'll be related to CHAP. But again, conservation districts, I know we had talked about for quite some time, and getting that passed, and disclosures. We talked about disclosures for realtors, and then just the other pieces that we were able to get done, highlighting, and even recently around cemeteries, buildings, everything under the sun. But I really am a lover of history, and as you know, I'm a planner by trade as well. So I really do enjoy just being here with you. So I will not be a stranger. It was a little tough doing double duty with Planning Commission and CHAP. So I'm very happy that my colleague, Councilman Jones, is here to join us, representing the east side of the city. And he had comments, and he voted like a champ today. So he's like a pro. So you're in great hands. So again, thank you all for your service as well.
John, thank you so much. Appreciate you. So last but not least, we are blessed to have Councilman Jermaine Jones. I think I've known Jermaine probably maybe almost 15 years. But I've seen this guy do his thing in the community. And to see you ascend to councilman is really cool. And so happy to have you on here, and want to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself to those that may not know you, and to reintroduce yourself to those that do know you. So by all means, the floor is yours.
Yes, just one of the Councilman Jermaine Jones, representing the 12th District of East Baltimore. Happy to, be on the CHAP committee. Just want to thank Councilman Bullock for, passing a baton and giving me opportunity to contribute to Baltimore City in another way as well. And just want to thank everyone for embracing me, so far being a board member. I appreciate it, and recognize your expertise. And just want to say thank you all for the time you commit here. And look forward to learning and listening, and also contributing to the conversation. And I feel like we're, in good hands. So thank you all.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So as we conclude, the time now is 3:45 p.m. on this day, March 10th, 2026. Meeting is adjourned.